Hello there, Ramblers, and welcome back to Reese Rambles, my weekly podcast all about the latest comings and goings, movings and shakings, and all the rest of it in the worlds of vintage and retro computing, gaming, and technology. Hope you're doing well out there. Wow, that was a good intro, wasn't it? This is the very first take as well. Perhaps we're actually going to end up using this one. Let's see what happens. Anyway, yes, of course, a couple of days ago it was Christmas. It is currently Friday, the 27th of December, as I sit here recording this. Sorry, I was just checking that my levels look okay on my microphone. It's crazy, isn't it? That, you have a couple of days off work and you completely forget how to do everything. And this YouTube thing is no exception. And also, because I haven't been here for a few days, the heating's been off. The whole building is empty. All of the neighbouring offices are empty at the moment. So it's very, very cold. Hence, I'm wearing my coat. I've only just got here. But the show must go on because I've got something else to record after this as well. But I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas time, as Paul McCartney once said to all of those who celebrate. I know some people spending it with friends and family and some people at home, and it's all good. Personally, I went to my sister's house. I'm sure you don't really care about what's going on in my personal life, but hey, there's not much on the Ramble list for this week, so let's talk about my Christmas. I went to my sister's house, and her and her husband put on a wonderful Christmas spread, as they always do. They've got young kids, so it makes sense to have it at their house rather than uprooting the kids and dragging them around on Christmas Day. Played with them, with my niece and my nephew. We played with all their new toys and stuff and kept them entertained and out of their parents' hair for at least a few hours while they sorted out the food. And then in the evening, I went to my good friend's house, and that's always fun because his family are very musical, and we have a bit of a musical extravaganza, which is kind of, sadly enough, kind of one of the highlights of my year, I guess. Yeah, and I know you're listening, but there you go. We should jam. We should do something musical in 2025. He got a very cool new guitar amp, actually, a little orange thing. And if that's not an excuse to get back into making music, I don't know what is. If you've been watching this channel for a while, in fact, you can just about see it in the corner there. That's our old band there, up in the corner. I've showed you that picture before, me playing the bass and my good friend Sam there playing his guitar, as you do. But anyway, the reason that I'm stalling and talking a load of rubbish for the start of this week's episode is because I don't really have much on my list. And in a very first exclusive reveal as well, for those of you watching on YouTube, I'm going to actually show you my Ramble list. So this is the Google Doc where I make notes for stories. And as you can see, there's only one item on there. I mean, there's two items, but they're actually relating to the same story, which is the SuperSEGA, which everyone's been talking about over the past week. I'm sure you're probably sick of hearing about it. I've been reporting on it for God knows how long now, but apparently that's the only thing that's come up on my radar since last week and found itself worthy to be added to the document. So, you know what? Let's pop over to Time Extension and see what they've been reporting on this. So the first story was on Monday. So that would have been... it's Friday today, so that's this week. And the story was that the boss of this SuperSEGA console, so if you're not familiar with this thing, I'm sure you probably are, but this was like some super, I was going to say SuperSEGA. I mean, it's literally in the name, isn't it? But yeah, it's an FPGA-based console, so it uses the FPGA chip to basically recreate all of Sega's consoles throughout history, I guess, or at least kind of the most mainstream ones. So, the Master System, the Mega Drive or the Genesis, if you like, the Saturn, and the Dreamcast. And it has the cartridge slots for all of the cartridge-based consoles and an optical drive, so you can play your Saturn and your Dreamcast games on there. And the really cool thing about this console was that it was going to be the very first time that we had an FPGA-based Dreamcast console. So it's kind of quite widely accepted now that the Cyclone 5 FPGA chip that's used in the Mister project isn't complex enough to be able to do the Dreamcast, so to speak. And that's why we don't have a Dreamcast core for Mister. But yeah, this console was going to be the one that finally cracked that. And lo and behold, the guy behind this, I should say, has a history of, to put it politely, to put it kindly, failed fundraisers. It was something to do with like a camera project where he took a load of people's money and then disappeared. And he's a bit of a character, and this whole thing has unfolded over the past year. But the latest development is that he's sold his Lamborghini. So he showed up, they showed a video of this thing in action, and a load of people raised a load of questions and were like, well, this thing doesn't look viable. This PCB doesn't look like a functional product that should be able to actually achieve what these people are claiming that it should. And then they put out a video, to reassure all of the people that backed the project, which started with him showing up in a Lamborghini and basically producing this prototype, which was in a very kind of tatty-looking cardboard box, and plugging it into a TV and playing some games. And the whole thing only really raised more questions than it answered. Anyway, it turns out, of course, the Lamborghini itself raised a lot of eyebrows. There were a lot of questions as to whether it actually belonged to this guy, to this Alejandro guy who's running the project. Turns out it does, and turns out that now he's been sued by SEGA, and they've been told that they have to shut the whole project down and refund everyone's money. He's actually putting his Lamborghini up for sale to cover the cost of that. So this was Monday's development. Yes, all of the pre-orders were actually refunded. People did actually get their money back, which is great. So that was to the tune of around 100,000 euros. So yeah, 99,900 euros. And that's to cover damages, losses, and legal costs. Obviously, he's got to defend himself against SEGA now. So that is the latest development in that story. Or I say the latest development in that story. I mean, Ian Lee, as I mentioned last week, has kind of taken this whole story and run with it. So he actually got like a UK exclusive interview with Alejandro himself last week, which was very, very interesting. And he has actually been covering this over on his channel as well. Ian Lee off the telly, off early 2000s gaming telly. Bloody lovely chap. I have been on his podcast and all the rest of it. But so Sega said that, you can't use the Sega name for the project. They can't mention the word Sega anywhere on the website, anything like that. So they tried to rename it to the SuperSEGA, which I have no idea what SuperSEGA was supposed to stand for. But apparently Sega decided that the S clearly does still stand for Sega and that it is still too similar to their trademark. So they decided to shut the whole project down. But then there was another development later on this week, believe it or not. And this headline pretty much says it all. It's a Christmas miracle. Super Sega now claims Sega is totally okay with its FPGA console. And this was on Tuesday. This is the wild roller coaster ride that has been this project. And yeah, it turns out that he's now claiming, with basically an incredibly dubious-looking letter from Sega's legal team that he has forwarded on, that actually no, it's all right. The project's going to go ahead, and Sega have said it's okay. Apart from the fact that it apparently now isn't. So I have no idea what is going on with this thing. I've tried to keep up with it over the past week. I've tried to watch Ian Lee's updates on it. I will link to his videos down in the description. Will it be going ahead in 2025? Will it not? Alejandro has claimed that they will be doing something with the console, that it's not dead. They do have plans for next year. They're just not quite ready to announce anything yet. But on the other hand, he has also refunded everyone's money and sold his Lamborghini to cover his legal costs. So what's going on? I don't know. I mean, I'm going to have to keep reporting on this one, aren't I? Because it's just never ending. It's just non-stop. And it's absolutely fascinating, isn't it? It really is. So anyway, that's my first story for this last ramble of this year. And if my notes are anything to go by, it's also my last story. Let's go and find something else. Aha! Discord to the rescue. Thank you ever so much to Gravitone over on my Discord server for submitting this to the Interesting Stuff channel. Gravitone is an esteemed member of the server and a long-term supporter of all of my YouTube endeavours, so thank you ever so much for that. And I don't really talk about my Discord enough, do I? There's a really nice little community over there. And people quite often post interesting little stories and things, and I don't really consider them enough for these rambles, I don't think. So I think on my list of resolutions for 2025, I'm going to start using more Discord-generated content. Why not? Why not outsource the rambles to my community and talk about the kind of stuff that they want to hear about, I guess. Anyway, that's by the by. So this story is all about the Spectrum. Not the original ZX Spectrum from the 80s, but the recreated, reimagined one from Retro Games Limited. And of course, this was released earlier this month. I think it was the first week of December. And of course, we saw it pop up in the hands of all of the usual suspects, the usual influencers across Instagram and YouTube and presumably TikTok and, I don't know, other places where influencers influence. I think I even saw a picture of Brian Cox. You know, Professor Brian Cox, who does the all the spacey stuff on TV. He was in D-Ream as well. That's a one-hit wonder from the 90s. I think I saw a picture of him with one as well. But yeah, it generally seems to have been quite well received. This isn't the story, by the way. But yeah, generally seems to have been quite well received. Of course, it's the usual kind of ARM SoC-based thing, running a software emulator with a load of built-in games and whatnot. But what I thought was quite amusing, and what was posted to Discord earlier this week, was this post on Blue Sky from Sticker, ST1KA, who is based in Spain. And yeah, so it turns out the ZX Spectrum, the new one, outsold the Xbox Series in Spain in the month of December. So here's the sales chart for the best-selling consoles in Spain, and I don't know if this is reflective of the whole of Europe, but to be fair, obviously, the Spectrum was huge in the UK, so I didn't even know it even made it to Spain, but there we go. But yeah, it's the third top-selling console in Spain this month. So the PS5 shifted 71,000 units, which is quite impressive, 2,300 of which were the new Pro model. We've got the Nintendo Switch, which was at 29,000, and then we've got the Spectrum in third place. 5,500 Spectrums sold in December in Spain. And behind that, the Xbox Series, 3,500. So, yeah, the Spectrum is the third best-selling console in Spain. I appreciate it's a computer and not a console, but it falls under the console charts, I guess because of the built-in games and everything else. But yeah, the third top-selling console in Spain in the month of December, I guess because of all of those hopeful little children on Christmas morning who'd put it on their Christmas list, knowing that it was one of the greatest computers of all time. And yeah, and if I'm reading this correctly, the PS5, obviously 2,300 PS5 Pros sold this month. So the Spectrum also outsold the new PS5 Pro in Spain. Is, I guess, another way to read that chart. And I did see quite an interesting reply to this as well, which is that this is from Jeg Reaver the Unrelenting. And it says here, fun fact, Microsoft has stopped advertising Xbox in Europe since at least 2021. Now, I have no evidence for this. I've not fact-checked this, but I don't remember the last time I saw an Xbox advert, I have to say. Perhaps they did stop advertising it. Maybe that's why they're not selling many of them. Still, anyway, if this is anything to go by, if these trends are anything to go by, the Spectrum will be the next big thing in 2025, unless these mainstream console manufacturers pull their fingers out and announce something new and interesting. And that is quite the scoop. Right, let's roll with this. So this is another story that was posted to my Discord, although to be fair, I have seen this around on some of the social media sites and stuff. I just didn't make a note of it in my rambles, again, in my Google Docs, so thanks to Gravitone again. Do you just want to be in charge of picking stories for this? I mean, you can if you like. You always seem to find all this interesting stuff. Yeah, the energy is a bit different this week. Of course, it's Christmas. We'll be back to our usual service next week. But yeah, this looks really interesting. So this is to do with a new CRT shader. And this has been made by a group called Blurbusters. And what this essentially does is you plug it into various emulators and stuff. And on a modern display, a modern flat panel display, it can try to emulate the look of an old CRT screen, I guess, is the whole point of it. Of course, CRT shaders are nothing new. There are all sorts of different... I think we kind of started with very basic scan lines and then kind of went from there. And this is really, really sophisticated. So you need a very fast monitor to get the most out of this. You need a 240 hertz monitor. You need HDR as well. And they're recommending G-Sync and FreeSync and all the rest of it. I don't know about modern monitor technology, but this looks really impressive just in the way that it works and just the sheer amount of work that they've gone into this. So, of course, if you know how a CRT works, you've got a phosphor, you've got a glass screen, and the back is coated in a phosphor coating, and there's a laser that works its way across the screen multiple times a second. So in an NTSC region, that would be 60 times a second. It would make its way down the screen. In a power region, it would be 50 times a second. And that's basically measured in hertz. And if we're talking about computer monitors, obviously they went up to 65, 70 hertz, stuff like that back in the day, even 80 plus, I think, some of the kind of higher end CRTs. But I think 50, 60 was kind of your consumer TV. And what they've done is basically you can take advantage of the HDR and the high refresh rates of these monitors to simulate this. So, of course, when that laser hits that phosphor, it lights it up for a fraction of a second and then it starts to decay. And then the laser hits it again and it lights up and it starts to decay. And it's very, very, very subtle, but it's one of the things that kind of gives CRT monitors their very distinctive look. And this is something that they've managed to recreate with this CRT shader. So RetroArch have picked this up already. This was released on December the 24th, but you can go to their GitHub and you can download it and you can go and plug it into your emulator of choice if it is supported. I don't know if this is going to make its way to Mister as well, potentially. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Not sure. They haven't said anything on that front. But yeah, so they've got... I'll just read through the list of bullet points on the website here. Sorry, I picked up a bit of a cough over Christmas as well. Major motion blur reduction on 240Hz plus displays. Soft phosphor fade and rolling scan. So less eye strain at the same hertz than BFI or strobe mode. So that's that rolling scan as the beam makes its way from the top to the bottom of the screen. They've managed to recreate that as a CRT shader. We've got a variable per pixel MPRT, which is a brightness redistribution algorithm. Great for reducing display motion blur. 60 years of legacy, 60 FPS, 60 Hz content. Works on LCDs and OLEDs. It's real time and slow-mo modes. It's got brightness adjustment and it's seamless, so no banding when ABL algorithm in display isn't interfering. And I don't understand what half of this stuff means because I'm not really from this world, but I've seen the demo videos of this. I would show it to you now as part of this YouTube video, but to be honest, the way that this is recorded, you're not going to see the benefit of it. It's not going to be an accurate representation. So I will link to this down in the description if you want to go and check that out on YouTube. But it's quite impressive to see, certainly quite impressive. And as I say, if you are a RetroArch user, that's a multi-platform emulator, they will be offering this in their next release as well, if you want to go and check it out. So very interesting. It says here that it's supported by most discrete GPUs, so Radeon's, GeForce, and Arc, and some faster mobile GPUs. So if you've got an iPhone with the 120Hz screen, apparently it works on there as well, which is really cool to see. They recommend a minimum 240Hz OLED, but if you have a 120Hz LCD, then that's fine. And it says fantastic 360 to 480 Hz OLED. 480 Hz. My God. I really am out of the game, aren't I? And it says here that you've got to configure your display for SDR mode. But it's all here on the website, and this just looks really cool. This is a cool project. I'm not usually really interested in stuff like this. I mean, I would prefer a real CRT, of course. But when it comes to my Mister, I tend to play on just my kind of modern gaming monitor, an AOC monitor. It's fine for what it is. I'm not really all that interested in recreating the look of a CRT. If I want to do that on, if I want to see what a CRT looks like, I own quite a few of them. But this one caught my eye because of their kind of focus on kind of education as well, and kind of being a very accurate technical representation, not just have how a CRT actually looks, but how it works as well, and how they've kind of disassembled that and kind of recreated it at a very low kind of technical level, and then integrated that with emulators for a very authentic look on monitors that can support it. So actually, this is a topic that I haven't really been interested in the past, but this particular project, this might just sway me. I might just have to have a play with this. I'm not quite sure how many hertz my monitor is. That's not a very gamer thing to say, is it? But there you go. I am a simple man. It's time for Bargain Watch. That's right, Bargain Watch, my weekly segment where I point out retro gaming bargains. Yeah, in fitting with the theme of this week's Ramble, I was just idly scrolling through Google and I spotted this, and I thought I'd let you know just in case it's of interest. So no, this isn't going to be a regular thing, but hey, here it is. This is one of my favourite consoles, and it's the cheapest price I have ever seen this for sale. So if you were impressed at seeing it in my videos, that review that I did and the teardown videos and all the rest of it, I mean, they impressed Atari enough for them to want to send me a 7800 Plus a month or so ago. So I guess they were pretty good videos, and I do genuinely love this as a piece of hardware. This is the 2600 Plus from kind of late 2023. And I've just spotted it on Amazon for £59.99. This is a limited time deal. This is pounds, by the way, on Amazon UK. £59.99. Comes with that 10 games in one cartridge and the recreated CX40 Plus joystick, which I should add is was not only very, very impressive and very well engineered, which you can see in my teardown video, but it's also compatible with your original Atari hardware as well. So if you have anything that supports the original Atari joysticks, it works with those. And the console itself, of course, it's got an ARM-based system on a chip that runs a software emulator, and it plays all of the 2600 and the 7800 games. Atari are reissuing both as you've probably seen on my channel, becoming a bit of a recurring theme. And of course, you can still pick up the original cartridges for next to nothing. So I love it. I think it's a great system. There has been a lot of talk out there about not being able to load it up with games because it's got no internal flash memory and stuff like that, like the retro gaming consoles, like the Spectrum I was talking about earlier. But ultimately, it's a different beast, and it's quite a different take on the formula. And I've always admired that, and I think Atari have done a great job with it. So this is, like I say, the cheapest I've ever seen one for sale. It's a limited time deal. I don't know how much stock they've got to set aside for this. I don't know when the end date is going to be on this deal. But like I say, I am recording this on the 27th, on the Friday afternoon. So hopefully by the time this goes out in when does it go out? In about 12 hours' time. Hopefully this will still be on sale. Apparently the RRP is $99.99, which I still think is a good price for what it is. But yeah, at this price, I would grab one, definitely. So I'm going to do this as an affiliate link. I will be completely transparent with you about that. Doesn't cost you any extra, makes me a few pennies. I'm in their affiliate program. You're taking money out of Jeff Bezos' pocket by buying this thing at this price anyway, I suspect. So let's take a bit more of his money. That's the Atari 2600 Plus. So this week, the BBC has interviewed SEGA, specifically Shuji Utsumi. Apologies for the pronunciation on that. The president of SEGA, all about their future plans. And there has been a very interesting little nugget of information that has come out off the back of this interview. And that is to do with a potential subscription service that they might be interested in launching in the near future. So the headline here on the BBC News website is SEGA considering Netflix-like game subscription service. Of course, there's no real details of what they're actually planning on offering here, but the concept is very intriguing, I have to say. And the story goes, SEGA is considering launching its own Netflix-like subscription service for video games, a move which would accelerate gaming's transition towards streaming. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, but we will continue. There are already a number of similar services on the market. What was that accent? There are already a number of similar services on the market, such as Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus, which see gamers pay a monthly fee for access to a range of titles rather than owning them outright, which again is not really a good thing. But they're evaluating some opportunities, apparently. We're thinking something and discussing something we cannot disclose right now, Shuji goes on to say. So some in the industry have expressed concern about the move, however, telling the BBC it could see gamers shelling out more money on multiple subscription services. Of course, this has gone really well for the movie studios for, I'm sure we've all got subscriptions to Netflix and Apple TV and Disney Plus and what are all the other ones? Amazon Prime and then, you want to watch a specific film and you go through all of those things that you're paying God knows how much for every month and it's not on any of them and you end up torrenting it anyway and the studios get nothing. And that's what they get for their greed. I mean, ultimately, that is the reality of the situation, isn't it? And in the world of gaming, in the world of PC gaming, this was a problem that was solved a very long time ago by Steam. Because Steam is, not only do they have some really brilliant sales throughout the year if you want to pick something up cheap, but it's also incredibly convenient, so much more convenient than actually pirating stuff, I would say. I just buy all my games on Steam now because you don't even give it a second thought. But yeah, unfortunately, that mindset of streaming and all the rest of it is starting to infect the world of gaming as well. So who knows how things are going to go. As you can probably guess, I'm not all that positive about this. But anyway, so the amount these services individually charge vary depending on the features and games made available. For example, Xbox Game Pass prices range from $6.99 to $14.99 a month, while PlayStation Plus ranges from $6.99 to $13.49 a month. So it would make financial sense for SEGA for people who are playing its titles to pay its subscription fees rather than its rivals. It could also be attractive for people who mostly want to play SEGA games, but for everyone else, it could result in higher costs. So obviously, I had the Mega Drive as a kid, and I know there are a lot of SEGA fans out there. You've probably noticed that it's a company that I do kind of report on a fair bit in these rambles, despite getting no coverage whatsoever on my main channel on Control-Alt-Reese. But yeah, of course, Antstream has been quite big. It never really worked for me. I know they got their hooks into a load of retro gaming influencer types a few years back and started pushing that service, and it was all over Twitch and everything. I tried it at home and it just didn't work for me. Pac-Man with lag is just, it's ridiculous, really, isn't it? But, I live in the countryside. My internet isn't all that great. Although I can watch Netflix, because obviously the lag doesn't really matter there. So there we go. That's the story here. As someone whose first console was the Sega Mega Drive, what I'd love more than anything is to see Sega thriving, and this feels like a step in a modern direction, she said. Who is she? I don't know. Oh, Sophie Smart, the production director at UK developer No More Robots. But she wondered if Sega did create a rival subscription service, if this would lead to their games being removed from other services, as we've seen with like all of the Disney stuff vanishing from Netflix, for example. Still refuse to pay for Disney Plus because it's all rubbish. If so, it could mean that consumers are shelling out more money across owning multiple subscription services, she said. So there we go. This was basically off the back of the premiere of the film Sonic 3. Which I haven't seen, but looks quite interesting and seems to have been quite well received. I think I saw the first modern Sonic film, but I think the second one passed me by, if I'm remembering rightly. But there we go. So that's Sega. They are potentially thinking of introducing their own streaming gaming service to compete with all of the various other ones out there. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I guess the jury is still out on that. But hey, if you're a massive Sonic fan and you just want to pay $6.99 a month to play that, it could be a thing. And so that brings us around quite neatly to my regular Video of the Week feature, wherein I feature a video that I've seen in the past week on YouTube. Go digging through my history, find something that I particularly enjoyed, and make it known to you all if you haven't come across it all already. And this one, I've actually got two for you. There's one that's going to be my actual Video of the Week, and then there was a second one that I was involved with that I also want to give a little plug to, just in this kind of, Christmas, New Year lull when a lot of people are kind of sitting around, stuffed to their eyeballs on turkey and, feeling a bit, having some well-deserved time off, looking for some stuff to watch. So, hey, you know the score. I don't need to explain that. But this first one, this is absolutely brilliant. So this is Polymat, and he's, full disclosure, he's a good friend of mine, Polymat, and he has been, he's been a member of my community for quite a while. Has his own YouTube channel, 19,600 subscribers, and I know this is kind of a really big cliche in the YouTube world, but you get people who say, oh, I can't believe how small your channel is. You deserve more subscribers. And in Polymat's case, that is absolutely the case. I mean, if this guy doesn't have 1 million by the end of next year, I would be very surprised because his videos are absolutely excellent. And he's done this silly little Christmas tree, animatronic Christmas tree repair / upgrade video for Christmas. And not only is it an absolutely brilliantly produced video, but it's such a funny project as well. And what he's done with this, I don't want to spoil the surprise, but the video, is in the form of like a Christmas poem, and the way the story unfolds and the way he kind of presents this whole kind of hardware project. If you're into hardware projects, hardware hacking, that kind of thing, Arduino stuff and toy restoration and repair, I don't even know what category this fits into. It's just a great video. So it's only 6 minutes and 46 seconds long. Well worth a watch while it is still Christmas. Would be a bit weird to watch this one at any other time of the year, I think, just based on the content of it. But that's my video of the week, and that will be linked in the usual places, of course, along with all the other stuff that I have covered in this week's Ramble. So go and check that out, and also subscribe to his channel while you're there. And I tell you what, leave him a nice comment as well, saying that Reese sent you, because then I'll get a message from him. Almost inevitably. Anyway, and the other video that I mentioned that I just want to give a bit of a shout out to, which you may have missed in the kind of mad Christmas rush over the past week, is this one. So this is a Christmas quiz that I was involved with, and it's hosted by the lovely Dave from This Week in Retro, who I'm sure you're familiar with. Scottish Dave, one of the loveliest chaps in retro, and he agreed to host this quiz. So this is a bunch of YouTubers, YouTube channels. I'm not going to list every single one of them, but I was asked to participate in this, and yeah, it's an hour and 20 minutes long, so it's a reasonably long video, but it's very well edited. This was put together very, very quickly, I should say, by Andy from Hack Build Restore, who you can see on screen at the moment if you are watching this on YouTube. Another great channel that you should definitely go and check out. As per all of the people involved in this quiz. And it's a bit of fun. It's very light-hearted. You can see my complete and utter lack of retro computing knowledge. Lots of questions that were well outside my area of expertise, including the Spectrum, of course, which I've never claimed to be an expert on. And Dave's Ultima round. But yeah, this was a load of fun to be involved with. I haven't watched the full video yet, I must confess. I'm going to probably sit down either tonight or tomorrow night and actually watch the thing properly. But yeah, it was a really fun thing to be involved with. It was a really good laugh, and I'm sure that comes across in the video as well. And yeah, you know, I know Andy has done a great job on the editing. So that's my kind of second bonus Christmas video of the week. That's on the Big Red Arrow Club YouTube channel. There are a bunch of us kind of loosely involved with this. We do kind of publish roundtable discussions and stuff like that. We have been having a bit of a conversation about doing some more interesting stuff like these quizzes and things over on that channel in the future as well. Only has 217 subscribers, so while you're over there checking that out, maybe you'd like to subscribe to that one as well and get on the ground floor on something that I'm sure is bound to be you know, the next big thing. But anyway, that's the Christmas quiz, my 2 videos of the week. There I fixed it, Polymat and his fantastic Christmas tree hack. And yeah, the Big Red Arrow Club Holiday Havoc Retro YouTube quiz. No spoilers as to how it turns out, but like I say, I didn't do very well. And there we have it. That's this week's Ramble all wrapped up like a lovely Christmas present. So thank you ever so much for joining me once more. And I just want to say, obviously you've made it through to the end, so I guess you're a regular viewer or listener. Just thank you for all of your support over the past year for this. This kind of started as a project. You know, I wanted to work on unscripted stuff. So this is completely and utterly unscripted. As you've seen, I have a bit of a list of bullet points where I just kind of glance at it and go, oh yeah, that's the next story, and then kind of have to try and wing it for a few minutes and ramble about whatever the story's about. And I think I've actually improved at that. I mean, I don't want to sing my praises too much, but I have found that these rambles have been quite helpful with that. And actually pretty much all of the videos on my main channel now are completely unscripted as well. And I think that is a direct result of doing this every single week. Just kind of honing those skills and kind of keeping them sharp, I guess. Not claiming that I'm brilliant at this, but I'm certainly a lot better than I was a year ago, I think. And I've brought all of you along for the ride. So I'm going to be putting a lot more work into YouTube next year. There is going to be a bit of an announcement about that if you haven't seen that yet. But yeah, the Rambles will be part of that. The format won't be changing, I don't think, all that much. But just kind of putting a bit more polish on it and putting a bit more work and a bit more research into it. Hopefully won't take away kind of the heart and the soul of what makes these and what they are. You know, I wouldn't want to change that. There are all sorts of kind of very professional, polished, retro podcasts out there already. This one is more just about me waffling on about stuff for half an hour. And hopefully that's all it will always be. But that's that. That's the end of 2024. I have just released a video over on my main channel, which is all about Coast modules, cash on a stick. Not particularly festive, but it's a video I've been working on for quite a while with my Pentium PC. And it's hopefully going to be the start of kind of a more regular weekly Friday offering as well going into 2025. So you've also got that to look forward to. But that's all I have for this week's Ramble. So thank you ever so much for joining me. I appreciate it has been a bit disjointed and a bit rushed. But like many of you out there, I've switched off over Christmas. And I think that's fair enough. So that's all I got for you this week. I shall see you next year. Bye.